Hello, friends. Happy Thursday. Okay, here we go. My name's Janna. If you're new here, I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Sorry, I'm just trying to get this a little more level here. My mount isn't wanting to cooperate or something. Okay, I guess we are good with that. So I've got a quick and easy card because I had to come up with something sort of at the last minute, honestly, but I did it nonetheless. And so we are doing a card today that can, if you like to just make one design of card, or maybe you make a few designs, but you make multiples, this would be a good card that you could do multiples of, and it wouldn't take you forever to get them done. So we're using the Festive Friends bundle today. This is one of the new sets, and it's got this cute little Santa, snowman, and an elf, and like a little primitive tree here. I love that. Some snowflakes and three sentiments. Well, there's a to from, so you could do some really cute tags, which you will see when I show you the dies here. And this is a cling mount red rubber set, which if you saw my last video, I talked about the fact that the red rubber stamps are going away. We will just only have the clear stamps here before too long. So, and then the packaging is all going to be packaging like the dies come in. So the stamps and dies will both be coming in envelopes like the dies come in. And here are the dies. So you get the dies to cut out the little characters. You get a different tree here. And you get two different trees. You get this fluffy tree over here and like a primitive, more pencil, what I would say pencil tree over here. You get this super fun tag that has like this little diamond shaped hole that it cuts out for your string or however you want, whatever you want to attach to it. And then it's got this piece here that you can cut out, fold over to create a tab on the top. And then it's got several different snowflakes in here and some kind of little diamond shapes. Possibly you could put that on the top of the tree and some ornaments. I'm not quite positive. But anyway, those are the dies. They're both called Festive Friends. So let's get started. There's minimal supplies here because, like I said, this is a quick and easy card that can be duplicated. And I love to do Christmas cards with craft color paper. This is the crumb cake. And I find that I need to buy some more of this because I'm running out of it. But I love the crumb cake paper. So we've got that, and then I cut another layer here using these dies, which are so fun. If you're familiar with the circles, we've got circle ones like this that have the circles, and this one is the rectangles. So you get 8 dies in all in this set with all the fun different little kind of stitch designs. These are called textured notes dies. There is a stamp set that you can bundle with this. I didn't get the stamps, but I did really like these dies and want those. So I cut this rectangle out with one of those. And let's just get to stamping. I'm gonna stamp out the Santa. He's so cute. So the stamps are shown at 90%. They're a little bit smaller on the cover than they are in person. And I'm just going to use my Misty here. Since I'm using the red rubber, I have to take that layer of foam out. And I've got a piece of white cardstock here. And I'm just going to stamp him in black with my Memento Tuxedo Black. I was busy watching a cooking video and wasn't paying attention to the time. So it was a good thing that I looked up the clock when I did, but they were making a huckleberry cheesecake. It's almost like I could smell it. I love to make cheesecake. There's nothing, I mean, if you're gonna have cheesecake, making one from scratch is the way to go because they're so yummy. And I've never had a huckleberry one, not that I recall anyway. Okay, let me just clean that stamp off real quick. I've gotten busy working on things for the craft fair that I'm going to take part in, and so that's why I was a little behind in trying to get something figured out for today's video. All right, so here we have our little Santa. Now you can color yours up however you want to. I am going to use my Stampin' Up! Blends, but you could certainly use whatever markers you have, or maybe watercolor him, or whatever you want to do. So let's see. Oh, I was going to say, did I put one of my markers back? So for his skin color, I'm using SU 800 and SU 900. I think the 900 is my darker color. They're pretty much close to the same. Okay, so it looks like 800's a little bit darker, so I'm just going to color his little ears and go around the outside edges here of his face, around his beard. And then I will come back in with this one. I'm not going to worry about his ears because they're so tiny there. And then I've got my light bubble bath, because he's just got to have some pink cheeks and some pink on his nose and his mouth here. Okay, and then I have some light smoky slate, and I'm just going to come in here on his beard and his hair. And don't worry that I'm just doing a sloppy job here, because I'm going to come back over and blend that all out. So we'll leave that at, oh, I need to do his hair. All right. So now I'm going to use my color lifter blender and just come in and go over the top of all of that I just did. Not his skin, but just his hair and his beard. All right, so there is that. And then I'm going to take my light pool party, and I'm just going to outline the areas that are going to stay white. It just kind of gives it that little bit of blue, ice blue look to that. And let's see, his little mittens I'm going to do with dark shaded spruce. And if you didn't want him to have mittens, you could color, use the skin colors to color up his little hands with no mittens. So there's that. Now I've got my light and dark real red here to do his little hat and Santa suit. So you could stamp out several of these and color them all up. And then with the dies, you know, just cut them out. It just makes it really quick. So I'm coloring the whole bottom part of his suit with the dark red. And then I'm coming in with the light red to finish off his hat and his jacket. I think my light red is running dry here. I'm going to have to get me another set of this color, especially with Christmas coming up. So there's that. And then I've got the light and dark basic black to do his little boots. Anyway, that's how I'm taking this to be, is these are his boots. So there he is. All right, and then I've got a piece of garden green here that I'm going to have ready so I can do some die cutting with that as well. So I think this is Santa, and then I'm going to cut this cute little tree out here. Bring in my little mini machine. I love having this little mini die cutter. It just sits right here on my desk, and it's so easy. And I have an electric cutting machine, but for smaller dies, it's just easier to use this one. It really is. Okay, I don't need to have tape on that. I think maybe, no, I better just do these one at a time. Okay, so there is our little Santa, so cute. I really like this tree. You could do a whole forest of these. And because the center part cuts out, if you wanted to run it through once in green, and then actually you wouldn't even have to do it in the brown, because you could go over the middle with a brown marker if you wanted and color that up like the trunk and make it brown. Okay, let's get this off the plate. Do you ever have that trouble where it sticks? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The center part comes out. So you could cut it out another time with a brown, or you could just take a brown marker and color that up, and maybe I will do that. I didn't do that on my sample card, but I certainly can do it on that. We'll just color right over the green with a brown marker. So let me just grab one real quick. I know I've got a piece of paper here somewhere. I thought I did. I don't know what I did with it. I didn't get a very dark brown, so we'll just see how this comes out. And then it just fits right back in there like a puzzle piece. Cute. Doesn't particularly look brown, so I think maybe cutting it out with brown paper a second time, if you wanted to do that, would probably work the best. Okay, so here I have my card base, also made out of that crumb cake. And I'm just going to grab the snowflake stamp out of the stamp set here. And I'm going to grab my crumb cake ink, so the same color ink as the paper. And we'll just go around the edges here. And twist and turn as you go, so it's not just, unless you want the design absolutely repeated, but I just want it a little bit different here and there. So turn your stamp or turn your paper, either way. And we're just going to go around the whole outside edge. Oopsie. There we go. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to just set that aside because I'm going to use it again, but I think I will clean my stamp off because it got pretty inky there. So there we go with that. And then I've got my piece that I die cut with that rectangle die. If I can get it picked up over here. Here we go. And I'm going to ink that snowflake up again. And I'm just going to stamp it once there. And another time up here. Okay, now I can put this away. Then I've got my inside piece here of white, and it's just cut to 4 by 5 1/4 because our card base is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to grab this cute tree that's in the stamp set. And a bigger block here. And my garden green, that's the same color I cut the tree out for the front. And we'll just stamp this tree inside. And if you wanted to decorate up your envelope, you could stamp this tree on your envelope too. That would be cute. Okay, and then let's see here. I'm going to do "We Wish You a Merry Little Christmas" on the inside. Oh, it's a little bit heavy, but that's okay. We wish you a Merry Little Christmas, or we wish you a Merry Christmas, not a Merry Little Christmas. Oh, I don't want to put that away yet because I'm going to stamp here. with Santa's coming to town. I'm just going to stamp that up here. Okay, so let's get the inside put in here. And then on this, let's go ahead and put our tree, and I'm just going to do that with liquid glue. And I'm going to kind of go back and forth over that middle part so that it all stays together. We don't want the trunk popping out. Let's see, let me move it up a little bit. Okay, so there's that. Let's bring Santa back. And I am going to put dimensionals on him. And I'm going to also put glue on his feet. If y'all know me, you know I like to ground my characters. I don't like them floating in space. Okay, so we're just going to kind of center him, sort of, not really, but that's good. And am I done with my glue? I think I am, so let me just close this back up. And then I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of this. So this is a card that you don't need pattern paper for because we've created our own sort of patterned paper on the bottom layer there with that snowflake. And let's just get this popped right on here. little bit slanted, so I'm going to see if I can fix that. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, so let me take my Wink of Stella here. And actually, I should have done this before I put Santa on there, but I'm just going to put a little bit on this top layered piece right here. I know you can't see it, but I'm just flicking it around to make it a little bit sparkly on this top layer. And then I'm going to go ahead and add it to these snowflakes right here on the top layer. So that will give us some embellishing without adding extra embellishments that are going to stick up, so that if you want to mail these cards, they will still be fairly flat, even though we've added some dimensionals on here. They kind of squish down, so I don't think that causes a problem in the mail. Not like little bumps from embellishments. Okay, so that gives us our sparkle and our cute little easy and quick Christmas card. And here's the other one I did earlier today without the middle part of the tree. I like the middle part of the tree being in there. I think I do like that better. And actually, once it's in there, it's still, even though I colored it over the green, it still gives the impression of brown without doing the brown paper. So yeah, I think he turns out cute. And you could change your characters up and do all of the characters. You could do the snowman on some and the elf on some, and make a whole, even if you did just 2 each of these, you know, that would give you quite a few cards with just this set. I also forgot to go back over him. I edged this one with some brown to make it blend in a little better, so it didn't have that white edge. But now that I'm looking at it, I'm kind of okay with the white edge also. So I don't know what your preference is, but there's the difference in browning the edge up there or distressing, and not distressing on this one. Okay, so shall we have story time? Hi, Angela. Getting my big Fairyopolis book here. So we are on the 4th of September on this page. There is to be a village fete on Saturday. I have decided to take along some blackberry jam as a contribution. Firstly, I'll need copious quantities of blackberries. I took my basket and went down to the hedgerow this afternoon. The berries are growing in abundance there. Unfortunately, I was foolish enough to cut my hand on the thorns. There's rather a lot of blood. Oh my. Clumsily bandaged up by my hand and got on with the business of making jam. And here is how the recipe, or how she made jam with the recipe and the directions. I won't read all of that. I thought I might leave some jam as a little gift for the flower fairies. I poured a tiny amount of hot jam into an egg cup and let it cool. That evening, I placed the egg cup underneath a blackberry bush. Now we're on to the 5th of September. I had the strangest dream last night. A group of fairies were hovering above my bed, discussing my wound. A wonderful, heady scent of flowers wafted around me. I suddenly realized my hand no longer hurt. It is completely healed. I am stunned. I must find my watercolors immediately in order to capture my magical vision. This says Mother's Blackberry Jam. Dear fairies, please accept this small gift. Kindest regards, CMB. My hand is throbbing rather. I do hope it isn't becoming infected. I believe that says rather, which seems weird. 6th of September, I suddenly realized I had quite forgotten about my gift of jam. I rushed into the garden and it was gone. I am beginning to think that through the healing of my hand, the fairies were showing their gratitude to me for my small gift. I have discovered in a drawer a book of fairy tales belonging to Edith. Remarkable that she, too, has an interest in the fairies. According to the tales, fairies have been known to use their powers to help humans. They also have the ability to bestow good health. It seems that throughout history, fairies and humans have helped each other. In the spirit of friendship, country folk will often leave cakes and other food out for the fairies, as well as buckets of clean water for the fairies to wash their babies in. It is said that the tooth fairy rewards children by replacing any teeth put under the pillow with a coin. Fairies are said to be responsible for putting silver coins in the boots of hardworking servants while they sleep. Let's see what's in here. Tales of grateful and helpful fairies. The Helpful Elves. A Welsh legend tells of an unlucky farmer who seemed to have nothing but misfortune. His crops became diseased and his cattle were ailing. As well as this, his wife was an invalid who could do nothing to help about the house or farm. The farmer was about to sell up when he was visited by an I don't know, Ellyl, a Welsh elf, who told him to be troubled no longer. All he need do was to ensure his wife left out a lighted candle and swept the fire clean every night. The Ellyllon would do the rest. That night, the couple went to bed early. They could hear sounds of laughter and merriment coming from the ground floor. In the morning, the house was as neat as a new pin and the livestock healthy and well. Every night the same thing happened. The crops prospered and the invalid wife grew fit and strong. The couple's good fortune continued for 3 years until the wife grew eager for a glimpse of the little folk. She tiptoed downstairs and peeped through the door. When she saw the merry band of elves about their work, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. At once the candle was blown out and everything became silent. The elves never came back to the farm, but fortunately the couple's ill fortune never returned either. The Begging Fairy. The Begging Fairy. A poor woman who had very little to eat gave a begging fairy a measure of her meal. The fairy returned the meal in due course, and throughout the long, hard winter, the woman's meal bin never ran dry. The Fairy Baby. A poor man was driving his only sheep to market. He was passing through a desolate spot when suddenly a great clamor arose. He could not see anything but could hear something being shouted above the uproar. Oh, there's a bairn born, but there's Nathan to pit on it. The man realized it was the fairies celebrating the birth of a fairy baby, but also bemoaning the fact that they had no clothes for it. The kind-hearted fellow took off his cloak and threw it down on the ground. It was snatched away, and the sounds of rejoicing could be heard. He went on his way to market. Once there, he sold his sheep for an unusually high price. Good luck was bestowed upon him for the rest of his life, and he became a wealthy man. The Broken Ped. A farm laborer was crossing a moor when he heard the sound of someone crying. He came across a child's ped, which is a spade, broken in half. He stopped to mend it, all the while not noticing that he was standing close to a barrow called Pixie Mound. When he was finished, he put down the mended ped and went on his way. Later that day, when he passed the spot again, the ped was gone and a freshly baked cake had been left in its place. The man ate it and found it delicious. He went on to live long and prosperous life. I have discovered in a drawer a book of fairy tales belonging to Edith. Oh yeah, we already read that, sorry. Okay, so we will stop here because I've read more than I usually do, and continue on next time. We don't have but just a couple more pages of this book left to read. And then maybe I will try to find something more grown up. I do love my Fairyopolis book though. All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you like my quickly made and designed little card that can be replicated and made in batches. And I hope you have a great weekend ahead. Take care, do some crafting, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.